Hey y'all, you're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor,
and Dr. B, licensed professional counselor.
You told Harpo to beat me. I loves Harpo. God knows I do. But I kill him dead before I let him beat me.
That's so wrong. Yeah. We shouldn't think that's so funny. But everybody knows that quote.
Do you know who made it worse? Tyler Perry. It was in one of his plays. And once he brought it back, he was like, you told Harpo to beat me. Medea played too much. But
Sophia had a lot of them though too. Like, I said, hell no.
Listen, I was like, that's me. I would have been beaten down in Town Square because I told the white man no. Okay? Hell, not just no, but hell no. But my other one is when Suge come in. It's not nice, but she said, "Your show is ugly."
Nobody was nice in this film, so like we could just operate from that standpoint. Right. Everything is that even that we laugh at is going to be terrible and evil.
Right.
Because I don't know why it's funny to me, but I had a friend too in college who would randomly be like, "Sitting in that jail." Don't do it, Miss Celie. Don't trade places with me.
She lost her damn mind. I may be poor,
black, I may even be ugly, but dear God, I'm here.
I am here. I was like, yes, you better be free, Celie. You better.
Because nothing you can do can keep me from it.
She gave him the 2 fingers. I wish I'm going to just curse somebody like that. Hey, calm your ass down. Until you
everything
do right
you did to me.
Yep, that's right.
Shorty said everything you think about gonna crumble.
And the house was falling apart. Okay, and then this may just be me, but all I know from the hand clap song is "Me and you will never part."
Maki da da. Me and you must have one heart. Maki da da.
Who's
ain't
Maki
no ocean,
Dada?
ain't no sea. You don't have to make sense. It's a childhood thing. Lots of things we said don't make sense.
I was saying it wrong the whole time either way.
I mean, I could be saying it wrong. I mean, it's not a real word, so I don't think there's a wrong way to say it.
You and me has never part. Maki
Because they did a
It's 1, 2, cross your chest, pat your legs, back up.
Okay. See,
I'm mad we're really doing this into the camera right now.
Into the camera
because this is a visual podcast.
So, watching this movie again, like you mentioned, I think, first of all, it was sad watching this as a kid. But watching it as an adult, I realized there were some actual like funny-ish moments.
And see, I'm the opposite. Watching it as a child, there were funny-ish moments. And then I was just like, dag, life is hard. But then now watching it for the purpose of this show, I'm like, oh my God, this movie is so sad.
I think some of the funnier parts are just like the subtle moments with Celie, like when she's, making faces at her sister. And then when her sister is like, making fun of, what's his name? Mister. And she said, what'd she say to him? I can't remember. When she was talking about how he walking around and how he need his food and stuff like that. And she had the
my shirt need a mended, my shoes need a shining.
Yeah. And then when you all done, I was gonna climb on top. And I was like, oh no.
Right.
And of course,
before you could say amen, I'm like, oh, that made it worse.
Right. And like Sophie and Harpo's relationship was funny, low key. Like,
Harpo the domestic abuse, you know.
Oh, jeez, right. You know, and then like she wasn't having it. But my man kept falling through the roof. He always was falling. Even as a kid. Yes, sir. I'm getting it now. It fell off with the saddle. I was like, damn, Harpo fell a lot. I never picked up on how clumsy he was until I watched it this time around. Like he was really like low key a klutz. And yeah. I can't tell. There were so many kids.
Okay, and so that's my question. Where did all of these kids come from and where did they go? So when Celie pulled up and she was a teenager, he said, this here be your new mammy. It was 3 kids. One of them was Harpo and he hit her in the head with a rock. The 2 others was girls. Remember, she was combing her hair and that's why she got popped in the mouth for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Where did them girls go? Because we never see them again.
They probably got their right mind together and left that dirty ass house.
Okay, so then did Celie have all of them kids for him? Was them all her kids?
I don't think Celie had kids again, except for the 2.
Right, from the beginning of the movie. So why were there so many children? Like at home, fixing to shave, mister. And even before, like whose kids were those? And then when you said you show is ugly, she had the mud on her face because she was reading and playing with the kids. Whose children were they?
My theory is, I think Harpo had all the other kids when you fast forward to Harpo being grown, being with Sophia, having Sophia get pregnant. And then they had all them kids. And instead of them taking care of the kids came to the house because they weren't too far from off of Mr.'s property.
But child, you would let your child grow up in the house with Mr.? Even as Harpo. Harpo ain't even like Mr.
He tried to take some marital advice. He said, beat her. I said, whoa, excuse me. Yeah, she ain't acting right. You just beat her? That's what we do in this day and time.
This movie and the time and the limited rights and respect for women. And Sophia was so strong. And I feel like every part of the movie was just somebody trying to break her like a mule. Like it was so hard to watch this time around.
Yes, I agree. Because Sophia was so strong-minded. And I think that's kind of how they wrote the description for this movie, is that because of these strong women, such as Sophia and, Suge, Celie was able to find her voice and find herself in all of this. But I think we talked about this before, but, just the storyline for Celie alone, I didn't even realize until I watched it again that the man who was supposedly Celie's father wasn't actually her father.
Girl, so he comes. Remember, she goes to the funeral and she's like, "You the new wife," and everything, and she explains the situation on how her and Nettie really get the house and how everything belonged to her real father. And so she was like, "Pa, not Pa, my children, not my brother and sister." And then I was like, oh my God, this whole time you thinking that your kids is your brother and your sister. Oh Lord Jesus. But as most things of the time, all of this could have been avoided if it wasn't for racist white people. Because racist white people lynched Celie and Nettie's real father.
Right.
They mentioned that. She says that. And it sounds like he was a business owner who owns the store. He had his own land, had the house. Like he had all of these things and was successful. And, white people can't stand us being great. And so they lynched him, in which case, again, hard times to be a woman during this time. Their mother married another man. He was trash, but I mean, she needed him her husband, I guess. And he was trash and was having sex on her daughter, and birthed 2 children by them and took her babies away from her. Oh, just all of it. It just gets worse and worse and worse.
The whole thing was just sad. And then like to see her giving birth and he busting, "Ain't you done yet?" Sir. Like,
no, because your baby inherited your big ass head and I'm trying to pass these old broad shoulders that
I was so upset. So instantly starting the movie, I was definitely in my feelings because I'm like, so like you mentioned, like the treatment of women back then, it really did get to me because I'm like, they don't deserve it. They didn't need it. It was just uncalled for. And I still to this day feel as if African American women are just at the bottom when it comes to just basic human rights. Like
the most unprotected and disrespected.
Absolutely. Like I'm sick of it. So seeing this is like, okay, we've come far, but my God, it still feel like in some cases we're completely disregarded. So
just all my life I had to fight.
That line was so real because especially when she said she had to fight her brother, she had to fight her father, you know, she had to fight the other men in the community around her, but she never thought she would have to fight her husband. And I thought about that and I'm like, damn, women do have to fight a lot. Like it starts within our houses as kids. Like who we fighting as children? We usually fighting our siblings as children. You get what I'm saying? Then you got stupid boys on the playground that want to play too much. So you got to fight them too. Let them know you're not about them games. And then you come out in real world and you still got to fight. Like all my life. Sick of it. I'm tired. I'm hanging up my gloves. I retired.
And that's, I think, again, speaks to the strength that is Sophia, because all my life I had to fight. Yeah. And she said, I never thought I would have to fight in my own home. And so but she also drew the line. She left, which is not something that is was promoted back then, was as acceptable back then. And she took her kids and she got up out of there. And so I was proud of Sophia, even though the new dude that she ended up talking to, Buster, who's a real life boxer, but did not fight for her when the white people came.
No, you see, there's a difference. You know, I fight for you for all them other suckers. Okay.
He didn't fight for her in the juke joint neither. He said, I don't feel like I need to fight my woman's battles.
Oh, you're right.
He didn't start fighting until like everybody started fighting.
Well, you know, Sophia was kind of one of those people that was like, nah, Sophia, don't do it. Don't do it.
The funniest thing is everybody was like, oh, time to go.
Time to go. Get my kids. Grab my kids. Lawrence Fishburne took the kids up real quick. Ran. But
every time it was about to go down, everybody close up shop.
Close it up. She about to lose her temper. Same thing at the juke joint. They was like, oh shit, let me get my
time to
guitar.
Go. Close the piano.
And then what was her name? Squeaky?
Squeak, yep.
Squeak. Man.
Where did she come from? Okay, so I am operating from the standpoint that I did not read the book. I have not seen the play. So sometimes I do feel that does put me at a little bit of a disadvantage because I don't know the full context that the characters are supposed to be represented from. But at the same point, I feel like it does allow a little bit of focus just on what the movie gave as far as like conceptualizing them as characters. So, but like, where did Squeak come from? What was her purpose?
From what I can tell, and again, just to kind of piggyback or mimic what you were saying, I did not see the play and I did not read the book. So shame on us.
Right? We need to do better.
But here we are. So Squeak looked like she was a juke joint, like hostess and, you know, waitress, like pretty girl, like the person that people were wanting to come see.
Oh my God. So she was a bottle girl and then Harpo just got with her next?
Yeah.
Squeak was a bottle girl.
Squeak was a bottle girl. And then it's funny, she's like, Harpo!
Who this woman?
Oh my gosh. And you just a big old heifer. But then she got right. Bitch got knocked into the water.
Dang. Like she slid. Like the slide was what was worse.
Right.
What about me?
Right, girl. You better learn how to fish. Make a living off of that.
But I guess, you know, everybody, all of the women at the end were able to find their metaphorical voice in some way, because even at the end she said, my name not Squeak, it's Mary Agnes, and I'm fixing to sing with Suge. Like, girl, we didn't even know you could sing.
It was
we
like
worked at the juke joint and we didn't even know.
Right, exactly. And then Mr.'s dad, what was old Mr. Johnson, was over there talking like Mary, who's Mary. And I'm just like, oh. But again, we have to remember the times we were in.
Yep.
And his dad, he kicked his dad out real quick when he came in and talked about you need a
bye, Paul.
Bye, Paul. Kicked him out.
And so this time it did, like, I felt like watching the movie this go round, thinking about how trash Mr.'s pop was. Like, Mr. kind of really didn't have a chance. The society that he grew up in told him that women were property. His father basically showed him that women were property, and like kind of gave him a little bit of an inferiority complex, to where he was only able to assert himself like in his relationship in that way. And like Mr. and it's like they had a personality when they first got together. Like, it all shifts in that scene where he does hit her for the first time, because like he's talking to Harpo and he's like, Harpo, don't you see, like, there's mold, and he was talking to him like a parent, like showing him like, hey, you didn't clean the saddle, this is wrong. Like, I was like, oh, okay, he's talking to Harpo. Like, I never paid attention to that before. Like, he's really parenting. And then he's like, oh my goodness, she's screaming, can you please like shut her up? Okay, that's normal. Parents, your kids get on your nerves. And then she was like, I can't, it's hurting her. And he was like, it's bad luck to cut a woman's hair. Like, they're having conversation. And then like the second he stands up and hits her, it's like from that moment on, they take all of his personality away and he just becomes this evil character. Like, he no longer is a individual. He just becomes the villain in the movie. And it was like a shift that kind of happens, because like when he's first and he's smiling and he's looking at the sister, he doesn't seem like a terrible person, just a creep, because he's looking at this little girl. And then but then accepts Celie's hand in marriage. I never peeped that he made her walk.
Wanted it. He did. Never wanted her. He wanted Nettie, and was low-key very hateful towards Celie because of the fact that he didn't get Nettie. So he treated her like trash the whole time, honestly. Yep. And I think the only reason why he was even nice was because Nettie wasn't around.
Yep. And it's like the whole movie, he is just so evil to her because he is not the object. She's not the object of his affections. She's not Nettie. She's not Suge. Because like Celie later on says, he beat me for not being you. And it's like he wanted Suge, couldn't have Suge. He wanted Nettie, couldn't have Nettie. And he feels stuck with Celie. And so he's taking out all of this on on Celie, on top of the fact like he was married and might have actually loved that woman that he was married to in the first place. And then she died.
Wait, hold up. Going back to your question earlier, you said he was married to a woman and she died?
Harpo's mother died.
So he never had kids with Suge?
No. When Suge first come, Harpo said, who this woman? And he said, this the woman, should have been your mammy.
Ah, okay. All right. Because then I was like, okay, maybe Suge is the mama of all them kids. And because she was wanting to go and be an artist and sing on the road, she left them with, okay, we still don't know where these kids came from.
This is just random. And then it's like all this open field. So it's not like they just neighborhood kids. Like they got to be coming from far to come and play at their house. And maybe Celie was just watching kids. She was keeping kids, like she was at home. You know what I mean? Other people might have been tending to the field. She was just keeping kids. It's possible, but we're not going to address that. We're just going to have random kids around this abusive household. Okay.
Right. Especially this abusive household, because now these kids see how, it's just like an example, a perpetuation of the abuse. Like this is how, just like he told Harpo, you got to beat her. You want your woman to act right, you need to beat her. And so that it made me so frustrated when he was saying that, because he was talking bad about Sophia, was like, she thinks too highly of herself. She need to be taken down a notch. Yes. And then he was like, do you hit her? How you expect her to mind you? Like,
he really believed that. And it's so terrible. It's just the cycles of abuse that we see in this movie. And we see how things, like you said, are perpetuated and continued and keep going forward. It hurts.
Right.
It hurts. And so I did have one question before we get into more like conceptualizing characters and things like that. I did have a question about, as far as sexuality. I know that the book, just from hearing interviews and people talking and throughout the years and hearing about the book, is that the book does explore sexuality a little bit more and the relationship that happens between Suge and Celie. But I don't see it as the champion of like questioning sexuality and queerness that people try to make it, because if they really did have a relationship and they was messing, that makes Suge even more trifling to me. So you getting physical with Albert and you getting physical with Celie, and it took like fucking 10 years for you to help her out of that house. Like, you come into their house getting physical with both of them and letting this terribleness just continue. Like, Suge, you.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I just saw that moment in the movie as like an exploration of sexuality for Celie, because I think she did have somewhat of an attraction for Suge. Didn't she mention looking at her picture while they would have sex?
Yeah, but I thought that was more of a like, I figure what he doing to me, he done to her, and I think that she must like it.
Okay.
Because she definitely was infatuated with Suge. And so I like, in my mind, in my child mind, they showed them kiss. And so it stops at the kiss. And then they become friends and they kissed once. You know, girls make out. Yeah. You know, you get drunk and you kiss your friend. Yeah. Right. So I thought it was one of those. But then as I, got older, I realized, oh no, like this was supposed to be significant of them having like a more intimate relationship. And then I'm like, yo, Suge, you jive filthy then. So then not only was you smashing both of them, then you sing a song to your boyfriend's wife in front of him.
Oh, sister, we're two of a kind. I love that song when she sang it. She up there blushing and stuck her tongue out at the girls who was talking shit about her. She sang it to me. But yeah, oh wow, I never really conceptualized it in that way. Like she actually was wrong. And I didn't even realize it had been 10 years.
I don't know if it's been exactly 10 years. I'm just,
It's been a minute.
It was a minute though. But what I will give is that it is common for individuals who are in intimate partner violence situations that it does take them multiple times to try to leave. So she did try to like run away with Suge the first before, but she didn't really tell Suge. And so Suge was like, well, say what you got to say, spit it out. And she's like, I's gonna miss you, and close the door. And that is something that's common, especially for, it's not a DSM diagnosis, but we do know the term battered woman syndrome, which we can see. So Celie was definitely suffering from. And so it does take multiple attempts to try to leave those type of situations, especially because of the power differential that Celie was living in. She was suffering every type of abuse in that situation possible. It was mental, emotional, physical, sexual, spiritual, financial, like any type of abuse you could think of. She was living in it. So I could see it being extremely difficult for her to leave and it taking multiple attempts to leave. But I also feel like, okay, Suge, if you is being physical with both of them, you are intimate with both of them, you clearly love and have care and feelings for both of them. Are you hoping that they stay together so that you can go to that one place and get your needs met by both of them?
Well, Suge,
I don't want to make Suge look like a bad guy, but I have questions now.
Well, I get it, because at the same time, Suge was looking for love, because she was looking and trying to make up for not having the love and affection from her father, and acceptance. More so, I think it's the acceptance of her father. And so the type of care for other people may not have been there because she didn't get what she was wanting in life. And so it was just kind of like, let me take this relationship, see what it can give me. And if it didn't give her what she needed, it was no longer valuable. She placed it on the shelf. I mean, she did that clearly with Mr. You know, she only came. She was like, okay, I'm in town. Let me help take care of me. And then once I'm better, I'm leaving you. Mm-hmm. Like that was it. There wasn't much more to that relationship. So I think that's the type of person she became as a result of her relationship with her father.
Because did you hear me? I's married now.
I say I's married now.
Mm-hmm. I's married now.
And she brought her new husband to their house. Like, you are intimate with both of them. This is already a weird love triangle that you have going on that you are keeping going in this house. And then you bring your new husband
into this. And then they drunk, just putting eggs on each other and cake. You funny.
I had her, you had her.
Right. That's it. Like, I don't know.
So
that
I guess
was
the
a
moral of
strange
that story is
relationship.
that, Suge's pimping is unmatched.
Absolutely. Okay. She was the pimp of the time.
Right? She had all the game.
She did. I'm trying to figure out what type of disorder I would give Suge based off of her, just the relationship, using and abusing relationships with people, like the addiction. It seemed as if she was addicted, or not necessarily addicted, I shouldn't say that, but gained satisfaction from the types of relationships that she was in. Is there a diagnosis for that?
I'm not sure. I felt like everyone in this entire film was struggling from some type of trauma-related diagnosis. And so I feel like there's a blanket of trauma that overhangs the entire movie. But I felt like for her, it was like you were saying, that fleeting sense of approval. And whatever it is that I can get to benefit from it, even if it's fleeting, even if it goes away, I'll take it for this amount of time that I can take it. But it's not what it is that I'm really searching for, because she was really searching for the love from her father.
So would you put that under like a dependent personality disorder, or just kind of give it another type of diagnosis, like a V code?
I feel like we only know Suge in her interactions with this couple. And I feel like I would need to see her in other, like, I would just need so much more assessment with Suge to really be able to make a diagnosis, because we only see her in this really weird, really complicated love triangle situation, interaction with this couple. And I don't know. Yeah, I just need more.
Well, I would say that there is clearly substance use. And I think she would most likely be diagnosed with a substance use disorder, because that's why she's there in the first place. She's withdrawing.
Was it that, or was because remember her father, not her father, Mr.'s father was talking stuff about her, and when Celie spit in his water and was like, I hear she's got that nasty woman's disease. So I thought maybe she was sick because of some like actual medical something that she might have contracted, and she was just ailing during that time. So I didn't know if it was she was, on a binge and was coming down off of that, or if it was the nasty woman's disease.
Well, she was considered a nasty woman's disease because she wasn't wedded. If you're not married. No,
and that's what he was saying about her, just talking stuff.
Exactly. So it's the stereotypical idea that basically if you're not married, you a hoe.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you trollop.
Yeah, you trollop all over from here to there. And yeah. So but I also would say that even Mr. himself, I felt like he had a drinking disorder as well.
He clearly did. That was definitely a substance use disorder. And I feel like it existed and just progressed throughout the years.
Yeah, I felt like by the end, I would say was severe.
Mm-hmm.
His usage. It got pretty bad. So for me, this is my theory. I feel like Suge was going through alcohol withdrawal with perpetual disturbances, because she was like having her moods and just yelling and I don't know what kind of breakfast Mr. bought to her, but she wasn't having it. She painted the walls with that shit. And then
she ate that ham that Celie brought her though.
Okay, I said I don't even eat pork, but I would have ate that shit. That food looked delicious. All right, so and then I would give Mr. Alcohol use disorder severe.
I'm gonna push it a little bit further. I'm gonna say Suge was on the hard stuff.
Oh, you think she was on cocaine?
I think she was on white smack booger sugar. No, I just assumed something harder because the level of withdrawals, also because of the environments that she was existing in, her being in the club scenes during that time, and heroin being
heroin, that's what the drug of choice was in.
And her size, how small she was, all like just different things like that made me feel like she might have been on the hard stuff, because she was still drinking once she was feeling a little bit better, like all throughout. She still would have a sip and a taste there, which is something where I'm like, so maybe it wasn't just alcohol that you was dabbling in. You might have been on that stuff.
She might have been. Okay. So let's see. Was there anything else that we needed to put down or talk about as far as Mr. is concerned? Albert.
Albert. Just really, I don't want to kind of excuse at all his behaviors, the different way that he was living and how he was treating Celie at all. Just definitely want to though highlight that hurt people. And as much as he was abusive to Celie, how much like throughout the movie he really depended on her and he so really needed her, and just all of those things. And at the end, not even as a redeeming quality, but like he owed her that. He owed her bringing them kids in.
Yes.
And you see he changed his hiding spot.
Right.
He changed his money hiding spot. He said, they found it in the closet. Let me put it over the chicken coop. But
I know. That's some spiteful shit. You know what I'm saying? And she literally tossed over the money. Like when she was looking, it was like, I don't care about this money. I want to see the letters. And that in itself was a really huge part of the abuse. And keeping, and she said it, you kept the one thing away from me that I had in this life. That's so hurtful, and then told her not to go to the mailbox, and that
I fixed it so I knows when it's been messed with. I say that. Actually, I do say that. That should have been one of my quotables, because I say that.
So I knows when it's been messed with.
Because I'm an only child. Well, I was the only child for a very long time. I do have a younger brother, but he was born, I was like 7. Right. So I was like, it's me. And so whenever anyone touches my stuff, hey, I fixed it. So I knows when it's been messed with.
Watching. Yeah. And that was like the ultimate abuse right there. But then of course, the physical, as far as him just putting, slapping her around whenever she didn't do something. And she really was feeling it when she was about to give him that little shave. Woo! I was like, yeah, oh yeah. Right. I was like, do it. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be.
And Suge was not trying to run for real. Like all that stumbling and fumbling, falling over like a white woman in a scary movie. Girl, was you really trying to say Mr. Life?
Yes, that's why she's made her come with her. Because she's like, I'm saving you, sir. Saving you from yourself if you don't realize it. Like, crazy. I wouldn't have said, I don't know. I couldn't have.
But Suge still loved Albert. Suge loved Albert, and she, had feelings for, at least care for Celie. So she just had to stop the whole situation.
I don't care how much I love a man. If you hitting another woman, I might be mad at her for being with you, but also I'm mad at the fact that you doing this. So I'm gonna empower her to leave you, and we leaving together, which is pretty much what they did.
It took a while though.
Yeah, it does take a while because she literally had nothing without him,
right?
You know, but yeah.
But I feel like Mr. likes that level of control, because not only did he have that level of control over Celie, but basically he was doing the same thing with Harpo, because Sophia, when she was going in on him, she was like, the only clothes he got, you buy. She was like, he ain't got nothing.
So it's not like I really want nothing from him. I really just want to be with him.
Just love this food, this fumbling, bumbling food.
Right. Falling through every butter roof.
It was almost to the point I was like, is Harpo dependent personality? Because Mr. was making so many decisions in his life, and then once Mr. stopped making the decisions, Sophia started making the decisions, and then he listened to Celie in order for her to do it. But then I was like, nah, maybe not.
Is dependent personality excluding, external environmental factors such as someone being manipulative in the situation, so like Stockholm syndrome, so is that still dependent personality if someone's making you feel like you need to stay or you should
and that's
stay?
why I decided against that full diagnosis. Like I feel like everyone has a syndrome that is widely known, like Celie with battered woman syndrome, Harpo with Stockholm syndrome. Like we have these widely known things, but not necessarily DSM diagnosable things for each character.
Right. And that's what makes it hard. And even to your point with Suge, it's like we have, as far as the only person that I feel like we could actually diagnose from child to adult would be Celie. Mm-hmm. And I mean, maybe even Albert to some extent, or Mr. to some extent, because, you see him progress in his adulthood. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to diagnose a lot of them, because even with Albert, like, I would only diagnose him with like major depressive disorder, PTSD. Well, not even PTSD, major depressive disorder, and alcoholism.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What? How would you treat Albert? Because we would, I guess, if we start. You said you're not treating.
No, I said I
welcome
punch him
in your practice. Oh,
I punch him and say, "Hey, how you doing?" No, just kidding.
Now that we got that out the way.
Okay, let's get back to it.
Let's start treatment.
Gosh, like seeing what I saw in this movie and actually having the ability to treat him, that probably would be the first thing I do. But no, on a serious note, how would I move forward with Mr. Albert? I think I would definitely go back into that whole. I think it's important for people to know the value and feel the value in themselves in order for us to move through certain things. And so I would help him understand that he is a valued person. He does have something to offer, despite what his father has told him, because I think that's also what's kind of contributing, like you said, to how he treated Celie and Harpo. And then, talk about that childhood experience growing with a father who can be very judgmental, and then also having a wife that had passed, and then, yeah, I'm really trying to be empathetic right now, so it's hard.
No, and I do feel like watching it this time, it did kind of humanize Mr. for me a little bit, despite him being just a terrible abuser, a bad parent, an attempted rapist. Just not attempted, because he was raping Celie, so a rapist as well. But just all of those things, really, I guess, aside from making sure that he was no longer a threat to anyone else.
That's huge. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, now he's decrepit. I mean, he can barely walk across the field.
Right. And so I would want to assess for suicidality with him. at this current place and make sure that he is caring for himself at appropriate level and does not want to cause any harm to himself or anyone else. Aside from that, I guess looking at maybe possibly some schema work. Like, what are these things that you're playing over in your head that are, because he has a lot of concrete thinking. Things are either black or white, it's this way or it's wrong. And just kind of analyzing, we pretty much know where they came from, but how do we interrupt those tracks? And how can we do that so that you can have a healthier end of life for you? Because you bout at the end, bro. You done drunk your liver into abyss. Right. And things is about to start shutting down for you. Right. So how can we get to a place of generativity as opposed to just stagnation and woe is me at this end of life stage that you are at? And so I guess that would be the main focus there. Oh, and as far as actual diagnosing, like you were saying before, of who we could diagnose and how, would you diagnose Sophia with post-traumatic stress because of her response from coming out of prison and being with Miss Millie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that woman was truly manipulative. And is this idea that, oh yeah, I'm kind to your people. I've always looked out for your people. And
I'm nice to the coloreds.
But then you that whole Christmas scene really upset. Like, I got really upset at that because it's just like, you told her she was going to be able to do this. She got good and comfortable.
You can stay all day.
Yes, girl was really, she lit up.
Day.
Right. She lit up like literally like a Christmas tree and was like, yes, I'm going to be with my family again. And part of me is just like the frustration of like, how can you keep someone from their family like that? Like that, the type of control that they felt that they had over Black people at that time, you know, like to say the prison time is just that, but then you also have to do service to the mayor and his wife, and we're going to keep you from, like, they didn't have to do all that. They could have let her out and then said, okay, you're going to work for them since you decided
they had to prove their point.
They had to prove a point. And that to me is just so frustrating. And then when she was trying to leave, what's her name? What's the mayor's wife name?
Miss Millie with her
Miss
evil
Millie.
self.
Yeah, gosh. I'm about to say something that's going to be really
And then to insinuate that those boys, first of all, calling them boys, those are full-on grown men. And those boys tried to attack me.
And they were trying to help her. And it just kind of, I don't know if that was intentional on showing that is just kind of how some white women can be as far as like being helped or you know, looking at Black people in a certain way when it's just like, look, we're not even trying to be on that shit with you. We're really trying to help, you know, and that part frustrated me so much. Even watching it as an adult again, I was just like, yo, like, Miss Millie, leave the woman alone. Just stay. I don't know.
And Sophia tried. She offered different solutions. I can have my sister squeeze in. I don't know her either. These people do not mean you any harm. No one cares about you, first of all. So biggest overarching thing is get over yourself, because you're trying to prove the point of ownership by even allowing Sophia the one day of Christmas Day to see her family after 8 years. She ain't seeing her kids. Like they're like, here you go, ma'am. Like, she's upset. Like, I feel like I don't know y'all no more. And as soon as she's able to get that embrace from her family, she has to go tend to Miss Millie because this heifer don't know how to even put a car in reverse. Like,
it was a mess.
Poor Sophia. And when she later on says, like, I know what it feels like to want to sing and have it beat out you. Like, oh.
They really did beat her. And you know, that lets you know that even after that incident in town hall, like in the town hall area, like she still kept saying what she needed to say until they literally beat it out of her. She was like, no, no, I'm not doing that. No. And it was like, you know, how many times are you going to take a blow to the head without you ending up rocking in a chair somewhere. So that to me lets me know like she was gone through it, but that was also because she fought every time she had to, in my mind. Even then, she was trying to fight. Like, no, let's just stay. I can stay, but.
And all it took was Miss Celie to cuss Mr. out one good time. And she was back.
She was back. She said,
Miss Sophia home now. Miss Sophia home. You know what? That's all I needed. Like, you helped me in the store that day. You gave me hope then. You giving me hope now. You taking your power back from Mr. Bitch. It only took forever. But you know what? It can be done. You know what? Let me get my shit back on. Hop on, let's put on some pants.
Yes. I was like, you better do it, girl. You better do it. She got her life together immediately as soon as Celie. And that to me was probably one of the best parts of the movie is when Celie went off.
Did I ever ask you for anything? Did I ever ask you for anything? I never asked you for nothing, not even your sorry ass hand in marriage. Nothing. I never asked you for nothing.
Oh, Sophia home now. Sophia home. Things gonna be changing around here too.
It needed to happen.
It needed to. Actually, I was reading in one of the sections of IMD, whatever. And it said that that was actually not in the script. That whole part was just based off of Steven Spielberg.
M2, one of them.
One of them. Steven Spielberg asked Whoopi to go like pretty much off script and say like, what would be something you would say in a moment like this, and just kind of just go off the handle with it. And Whoopi laid that shit down.
And she said, assignment understood.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are, Mr. Spielberg.
And action.
Did I ask you for anything? Did I ever ask you for anything?
Yo, like...
Not even your sorry ass hand in marriage.
Not even your sorry ass hand. Like, she already knew as a kid you was sorry. She kept up with your sorry ass. And you had the audacity to still act like I need your ass right now. Yo, I was like, that is one line that I wish I could say to somebody. I don't know if I ever have the chance. Let me tell you, I'm going in. I'm going in.
I hope that you never have the opportunity to give that line to anybody, because I don't want anyone to treat you that poorly where they deserve that.
We don't need to stick that into life.
So I guess prognosis would be good then for Sophia. I mean, Mr. is very close to end of life, so he's about to die. Celie now is a businesswoman, a homeowner. She has her kids back. She has her sister back. Do you feel, though, because there are a lot of times where people get on paper what is that happy ending, but that trauma is so deep and it's so internalized that they're not able to fully experience the safety that they're now in. So what do you feel like the prognosis would be for somebody like Celie, who does have all of this complex trauma from the time that the movie starts and she is a young girl to the time that the movie ends, and she's experienced so much, the battered woman syndrome, the post-traumatic stress, like, do you feel that, what do you feel like her prognosis would be?
I feel like she still has a pretty good prognosis. One being that, yes, as she's processing some of the traumas that she dealt with as a young girl to present, I feel that just having her kids and her sister will remind her, will be a grounding type of thing for her. And using that to say, you know what? I can't look back at that now. I can only do what I can with what I have right now, right? So she can't go back and be a sister or a mother to her kids, but she can do that now in this present moment. So for me, in working with Celie, it would be that mindfulness, that present here and now. What can you do about now? And then, we can do and work on some of the trauma experiences because it will inform how she operates. But I really, at that point, I feel like Celie was liberated, in my opinion. And so it's just like, she may have her sad days and might have some nightmares and some issues. Because she even was starting to see Mr. I didn't know if that was real or not, if he was really there, or she was hallucinating him being there at the store, and he was on the other side of the train. I feel that was actually him, because when I recall it, she sees him, and then it goes to the scene of her being on the porch and someone coming, and so I think that was him looking in and saying, I fucked up, I'm sorry. And then, giving her that gift of her family.
The least he could do.
The very least. I mean, my goodness. It was that, there were more than a few moments in this movie that really made me angry, which is probably why I have such strong feelings about The Color Purple.
See, I didn't until watching it for the purpose of this movie. Like, I never recognized it for like the trauma porn that it is. And just the Black woman suffering that is depicted. And then recognizing that it was written by this Black woman as this story, and how the women, supported each other, and how each thing that this woman did somehow helped liberate this woman, and all of those different things. And then it going into the hands of Steven Spielberg, who does like animal movies. He does like extraterrestrial. He did E.T. and Jurassic Park and Jaws. While I love all three of those movies, like they all hold a special place in my heart. Like for him to kind of handle, and I get why Alex Walker was like, nope, I have to look at this as the movie is the movie, the book is the book, because they are not related. This is what he envisioned and all of those different things. And so now I have a weird relationship with this movie that I didn't have before. Before I'd be like, oh, The Color Purple's on, I can always watch The Color Purple. Now I'm like, if I don't ever see it again, it won't be a terrible thing, because it hurts to watch now.
It does.
And I think what it was missing before was the empathy. I don't think that I ever felt the need in watching it to really put myself in the shoes of Celie. Like just watching Celie, I could say, oh man, this is terrible. This is really messed up. Like all of these situations, she didn't ask for any of this. This is terrible. But then like being an adult now and being able to empathize and see past my own self and really think what this experience must be for somebody else. Oh. And it's literally from the beginning to the end of the movie. And like Steven Spielberg does, which he is kind of famous for. He does these great instrumentals that like he puts them like orchestra instrumentals. He puts them throughout the movie, and they're very like cinematographic and broad and like whimsical almost. But he put that at the beginning of this movie, and yes, it carries throughout. But he put it at the beginning, and then there's so much trauma like immediately that follows after it. And so you're thinking that you're getting this coming of age story, and then boom, I'm having my father's baby, and it's being taken away from me. And I'm 14, and I'm talking to God, asking him to help me understand. Like I'm saying, like, God, I've always been a good girl. Like, why is this happening to me? Type stuff. And
it was sad. The one part that I cried on was when Suge goes back to her father's church, and she stopped singing at the juke joint. And then
sings, God's trying to tell you something.
Right. And sings all the way to the church. Oh my gosh. I couldn't hold it together. I really tried, especially when she hugged and embraced her father and he hugged her back. It's when he hugged her back. I was like, oh.
Sinners have souls too, Daddy.
Yes. I think about that baby. She just wanted her daddy. She wanted her daddy. So,
see, I'm a G, and I hold it together throughout the whole movie until doggone Adam start talking in that African accent. Why they got African accents, and they really from America, and they had American parents and an American auntie there taking care of them, but they still only speak their African dialect. I don't know. But when he said, Mama Umbuli, I say, oh,
I know. That got me too. That part got me too. And then you see Mr. over there being a creep with his horse. Like, we know, get out of here, man. What you doing? You know you did this. Come on.
You just had to be a part. You couldn't.
Right. Just go on over there somewhere.
Right. What you doing on her land? Go home.
Right. Oh, ugly hell. So anyway, I agree. Like, this was definitely one of those sad moments in movie history where it's just like, this movie cannot be a positive one no matter how you spin it.
Right. And then all of the hate that the movie, not hate, they tried to give it accolades. Like, it got nominated for like a good bazillion Oscar nominations, but then won in no categories that year is really hard to believe, because I can't say that it's a fun movie to watch, but I cannot lie and say that it's not a good movie. And so the fact that it didn't win anything, shice bubs.
Yeah, that part, because it's just like, I think also that sometimes white audiences have a hard time seeing themselves depicted a certain way in certain films too. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a harsh reality because, you know, they weren't depicted in the best light. They were depicted in a true light. Whereas even if you are not a major role in the lives of these people, the actions that you do are still negatively impacting these people in dramatic ways. So just do better. Right. And then I also think it's the domestic violence. There was a lot of domestic violence in there. And it's hard to give something an award when you're depicting something so harsh and again, it's a topic or a conversation that's not easily had amongst people. So I can see why they don't get the best ratings. If there was comic relief, if there was whatever, there was.
I was about to say, now Harpo fell through that roof a good 2-3 times.
Right,
it's gonna rain on your head.
Right.
But I'm glad that they did have the moments, because we don't want all terrible. Life isn't that way. And if it's one thing Black folks gonna do, we're gonna crack a joke. Okay. Despite the hurt, we're gonna crack a joke. So it needed to be there. It also needed to be there, you know, as a film. You have to have those moments to relieve the tension that exists through the natural occurrences in the script or whatever. But I'm glad that they didn't have too many, because it is a dark story. And I don't want to lose the impactfulness of the story because you have a bunch of budunts, you know?
Right, right, exactly. So would you see this being another movie that that could be remade?
Oh, no, I wouldn't want it to.
We're in the age of being remade.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. And I think it's different. I think it would be a very different movie because of the time that it was a period piece. So it was supposed to be a certain time frame where women they were seen as property. They didn't have as many rights. And just some of that, while there is still, of course, a lot of misogyny, especially a lot of misogynoir that goes on still, it was a very different time, and that increased the stakes there, that increased the level of everything that everybody was going through because of the societal times and the norms and everything of back then, where things will be a little bit different now. But I don't want to see that. That sounds bad, but it's enough of that happening in real life to where I don't need to see another movie about it, because when it was done in 1985, it was done then. There's been so much Black trauma porn movies to happen since then that we don't need another Black trauma porn film.
I see what you're saying.
I don't need another film of seeing us suffer the whole movie to get like 20 seconds of, it's not even full redemption. Like, she don't get them years back. And if Celie was my client, I would want to first, I guess, now is what does it mean for you to be a mother now? What does that look like for you now? What, like, you're stepping in, like, these children are coming into your life and you're coming into their life and they're grown, and this one has his own wife, and like, what does that look like? And making sure that you can also manage your day-to-day, also assess for suicidality, because just because things are from the outside and on paper appearing better, if she's still struggling with all those things internally, it's still something that we want to assess for. And that's a lot to get your sister back after all these years, and to get your children that you never really ever really had.
Right. And you mentioned the trauma. I would more so be concerned about the relationships and the dynamics of the relationships, and like, well, I'm your mother, you listen to me. Well, ma'am,
no, I don't know you.
Years, I don't know you.
And like, I'm more inclined to listen to Auntie, because Auntie has been there. Auntie was in Africa with me. Like, we have this familial bond that we have built throughout these years. And I am just now meeting you and getting to know you. So what does that look like? That is kind of where it would be more of a family systems thing for me, as opposed to just individual. That's just where my mind went straight to, is that I would want to work with the family. Especially just for any type of prolonged success with what Celie is going through, I would want to work with the family.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it also looks like, you know, her, Sophia, and Harpo still have a relationship as well too. What would your prognosis be for Sophia?
I think it would be good. Just because I don't know. I think I'm completely biased in my love for Sophia, and I hate that she had to be so resilient, but the fact exists that she was. But now I guess she and Harpo, it appears that they are back in a romantic relationship with one another, where there is a much stronger level of respect there for each other. Yeah. So if their relationship is healthy, then they're continuing that forward. She is working at the juke joint. So not only are they being quality partners now, they're also business partners. So they're successful in business and creating income for themselves. So she also has a sense of purpose there as well, on top of being in the kids' lives. And they have it seems like they were able to carve out and place boundaries with Mr. so that he respects, you know, that they're together. And he's like, it sure is nice to see y'all back together. And like, he's respecting them in a different way. So their social supports are in a much healthier place now, where it's not negative boundary crossing and negative people that they have as familial support as well. So, and she does have like all of the sisters who are always there for her. So I feel like it would be good. And as long as she, again, is not having to constantly be faced with if the mayor still isn't the mayor, even better. If the mayor is still the mayor, then that might, you know, cause some flashbacks, do different things. We don't know exactly what happened in prison, so we don't know what traumatic triggers or reactions that could be happening there. But as long as she don't have to deal with the racist white people that kept her oppressed for so many years and tortured her, then I think, you know, she'd be all right.
I think the community just keep her away. Let us get your groceries for you,
right?
So you don't have to deal with them.
And Miss Millie was older, so hopefully she died, and Miss Sophia can go dance on her grave.
Ooh, that would be nice. Did you know that Oprah Winfrey was actually at a weight loss camp at the time of them doing the casting, and she got the role of Sophia and had to leave her weight loss camp as soon as she got the role, because the role of Sophia required her to be more heavy. And that part is interesting to me, because I mean, we all know now that Oprah Winfrey has gone through a long journey of weight loss and, you know, trying to get her weight together. But this was also one of her first films as well, along with Whoopi, I think, too.
Yes, this is definitely her first drama. She was only a comedic actress and stand-up comedian at the time, and she had her one-woman show where she originally was wanting the role of Sophia. And she had got Steven Spielberg to come to her one-woman show that she was doing at the time. And she was like, no, I think he's going to like it. I think I'm going to, put it out there. And he offered her the role of Celie instead. And so for her to be able to make the jump from just comedy into such a dramatic role and being a leading woman, I think just is a testament to all of, again, the awesomeness. We've said it before on this show, the greatness, the iconificness that is Whoopi Goldberg. I just love her to pieces. She does no wrong. She's great. She is a true artist. Like when I think about her, I think, she's an actress, she's a comedian, but she is an artist. Like the things that she does to me feels more of an artful expression as opposed to just playing a part in a movie. Yeah, if I've never met Whoopi Goldberg, I might pass out. It would be an ugly one too. It would be just like how she fell out when Suge left. That's exactly how I will fall out.
Please. Really? Okay. I gotta be there when you meet her so I can get it on recording. Whoopi, we want to meet you, girl. Hey.
But yes, so aside from diagnosing, everyone in the film with post-traumatic stress disorder,
right,
or some trauma-related experience. However, we do feel like the prognosis could potentially be good for everyone except for Mr. We just hope that he dies peacefully, and we hope nothing but terrible things for Miss Millie and her husband. I hope that their death was painful and slow, and nothing else good came from them, and everything that also they thought about crumbled as well. Them and Mr.
Right. Absolutely. I really do feel like Celie cursed Mr. because as soon as he saw you see the house falling apart and all that other nonsense, that's when he goes and puts that money in. So I want to say that his curse ended, but he only had a few more years without that curse. That's my theory.
That, and even if it wasn't a curse, I mean, the alcoholism clearly just kicked in. He depended on her for so much. She kept the house running. He really didn't know how to tend to things aside from the field work. So him, taking care of the house was out of the question. And then he could not really take care of himself, let alone the house, once he started drinking so heavily as he did. So the guilt, the curse of guilt, kind of ate him alive.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe he has enough money left over to put himself in. Did they do nursing homes back then? I don't know. No, either way,
he died.
Death was coming to him. So, we all got to go sometime. Hopefully he made it right with God first. But he went.
Right. In God's hands now.
Yeah. It's above me now. But did you have anything else that you needed to get out about the film before we wrap it up?
Again, I think this was really one of the saddest movies I've watched as a kid. And still, I think, watching it as an adult, I have a greater appreciation for all of the characters and the storytelling itself. I would definitely recommend that people watch it. It is very traumatic, but I think it's something that's worth watching, especially, as a Black person. I can't tell you how many people I know, Black people I know, who said they haven't watched The Color Purple. And I'm like, what?
They're missing so many cultural references.
Exactly, right? So
the quotes alone.
Exactly. Definitely a film you have to see. And hopefully, I think there are some diagnoses that we could have given. Right. But I think for the sake of just, conversation and everything, it's just better to conceptualize it and talk about it versus trying to diagnose everybody, especially at this time. That was just a really hard time for Black people. So, yeah, that's that.
Facts. Couldn't agree more. Said wonderfully. If you would like to support the show to help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the Support the Show link to become a Patreon member or donate on our Cash App. Now, we're happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we'd rather the kind that folds. Don't forget, you can also buy our merch from our website as well.
As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the DSM Podcast, and you can subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, go ahead and leave us a comment because we are counselors and actually care what you have to say. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Okay, bye.